Everybody got their phones off? All right. At approximately 6:45 a.m. this morning, DeKalb County police officers responded to a reported home invasion, armed robbery at the Colony Ridge Apartments on Glenwood Road. As officers approached the scene and location, they were fired upon by what we know right now to be two known suspects, and these suspects fired upon our officers with automatic assault rifles. Two officers were struck by gunfire. One was struck in the thigh, another was struck in the calf. One suspect, a 39-year-old male, was struck in exchange of gunfire and transported to an area hospital in critical condition. After an extensive ground search utilizing K-9, aerial support, and support from the Sheriff's Office, Marshal's Office, Georgia State Police, Fulton County Police, ATF, and Doraville, and Atlanta, the second suspect was caught without further incident. He's a 29-year-old male and was taken into custody after being located by one of Doraville police officer K-9s. He was transported to an area hospital for evaluations of his injuries. At a minimum, the suspect faces charges of home invasion, armed robbery, aggravated assault on a police officer. Officer Devin Perry was shot in the calf and has been released from the hospital. He's 29 years of age and has been on the department for 4 years. Officer Tony Luong was shot in the thigh and has been in surgery. He is 26 years of age and has been on the department for approximately 1 year. This event this morning that occurred is a very horrendous one, but it also reminds us of the fact of the police officers in this community and across this country do a very, very dangerous job each and every day. And to come up under the attack of assault rifles is something I think that we all need to give a great deal of thought to, is that officers, particularly in this community, DeKalb County, on this day, lives were threatened. And it's only by the grace of God that it could have been worse. And we're thankful that both of them are going to recover from their injuries. But I think it's important to note here that we have to support our law enforcement, support our officers as well, too, because they do a very dangerous job. And I also want to thank again the support of all our partners throughout this community: Atlanta Police, ATF, FBI, Doraville Police. Every agency in this community and around this community responded as we do when we have these types of incidents to occur. What I'd like to do is take a few moments to answer any questions that you have. Some of your questions, if I cannot answer them, I will simply say to you, it is currently under investigation. End of story, period. So, Visser.
Do you have any idea why one apartment was targeted?
We have reason to believe, and that's still part of the investigation, but I answer to you the best I can, is that location at that apartment, we suspect at this point may have had some other activities going on inside. So that is still yet to be determined. And I don't want to make any concrete statements until we know exactly more. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead. I can't say anything more specific than that. Yes, sir.
Two questions. The weapons were recovered that the assailants had, and secondly, the second suspect that you arrested in the cemetery, was that man hit with gunfire, or was he bitten by the dogs? We understand he was bleeding.
All the above. All the above. Yes, he is the second suspect. In this, he had received gunfire in exchange with our officers, and he tried to run from the scene once the officers found him, and he was bit by a K-9 dog.
Was he wounded by a bullet, though? Was he wounded in the gunfire?
He was wounded in the gunfire with our officers. Yes, he was.
And the question about the guns, the rifles being recovered?
We have recovered the weapons. Yes. Real quick. One question. Go ahead. Give me one question at a time.
You mentioned the charges against the second suspect. Will the first suspect who was wounded also be charged?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
What crimes?
Home invasion and armed robbery.
Identical charges for both?
Yes, same charges for both.
Did both suspects have weapons and fire shots at you?
We believe that they did. Certainly the one with the assault rifle. We know for a fact that he did fire upon the officers. As far as we know, both subjects fired up on officers when officers were approaching the scene.
Can you clarify exactly where he was found? We've heard that there was a sighting of him running across the...
Which person you're talking about?
The second one. And that he was found near a creek or a cemetery. Can you describe it?
He ran a distance from the location of where the shooting took place, and he did get over to the other side of the expressway where he was subsequently found by K-9. There was a couple of questions over here.
Yeah, can you talk about the crime in this neighborhood and how it compares to other parts of the county?
Well, I mean, we certainly have certain areas in and around the county that more high crime areas than others. This is one of our areas, of course, in which, if you remember 7, 8 years ago, not very far from there, we lost 2 police officers in the line of duty as well, too, in very close proximity to this same apartment complex.
What can you tell us about the suspects? Have they been on your radar before?
No, they have not, far as we know. I don't know that much about it. But what I will say is this: they certainly, from what we can gather so far right now, both of them were very much armed. And when officers arrived to that scene, and as officers were pulling up out of their vehicles, these gentlemen were coming out of the apartment and fired directly upon officers deliberately. And officers returned fire, and of course, we had 2 officers that were injured. Yes, sir.
Did they both have assault rifles? And was the second guy that you arrested, was he shot at the first scene of the first shooting, or was he shot out by the cemetery?
We're still working that through, but both of them in exchange of gunfire. All the gunfire occurred there at the scene in that moment.
So there wasn't any
So there was no secondary gunfire out at the cemetery.
Okay.
No, it was not.
Assault rifles or not?
We know we have in possession at least 1 assault rifle and 1 small arms. 1 or 2 other questions.
You
Yes, sir.
mentioned assault rifle and fully automatic. I just want to be very specific about what we're talking about.
AK-47,
It was a fully automatic weapon.
fully automatic weapon.
Did any of them were they legally allowed to possess it? Did they have federal-
I could only imagine they probably were not. Next
You have been
question,
listening
please.
to
Next
Dr.
question.
Cedric
Yes.
Alexander. He's been updating us on what happened this morning. And we have learned, we want to just mention the names of the 2 officers, Devon Perry and Tony Luan. We're going to be
They
staying
were
on top of
responding
this
to-
breaking
they were
news,
responding to
the
home-
arrest of a second suspect in the shooting and the wounding of the 2 officers.
A bunch more coming up throughout the day here on Channel 2 Action News.